Hello, everyone. My name is Lavinia Planca, and I'm delighted to be interviewing today several members of Legacy who are going to be doing a special presentation at the online conference. And we in communications thought it was really important for you to have a chance to meet a few of the members and to get some questions answered so that you can understand why it's important for you to join them at this very special presentation. And the people I'm going to be speaking to today are Liza Weaver Brickey, Alice Friedman, and Donna Blank. And so, of course, the first question that everyone asks me is, what exactly is Legacy?
Good question. So Legacy formed a little over 5 years ago, and it started actually at a conference, a FGNA conference, with some of us having conversation about the sustainability of our work and what is the future going to look like and what are some of the issues. And we were in conversation discovering that we had a lot of issues and a lot of concerns. So we started meeting, like I think 7 or 8 of us started meeting 5.5 years ago. And we've met every other week at least during that time and annually with a larger group. And there's been some change of who's there, but the 3 of us have been there since the beginning. So we were looking at the sustainability and hopefully the robust future of the Feldenkrais work. And there are a lot of problems ahead in terms of, as we know, not enough trainers. And what we also discovered is, how do we talk to each other and how do we make decisions? And, you know, there was a habit pattern that formed about how that happened at the beginning, which is really after Moshe died. I was on the board when he died of FGNA, and I remember those days. And we were creating the forms that we're living with now. And now it's 40 years later. And so there's a maturational issue here about what does an organization do? What does a profession do as it moves to the next generation? How is it going to look for the future? What are the needs that are different from the ways that we went about seeing and what we saw at that time? We have different issues now. And so that's what we've gotten together to work on and to define some of those issues. We worked with a facilitator to help us because the other big piece is that we had to learn how to talk to each other. And there's been a history in the Feldenkrais world of that being difficult. We know how to communicate well when we're with our clients, but we haven't learned to do that organizationally as well. How to really listen when there's conflict, how to stay together and move towards action when there are multiple points of view. So we've developed this process of professional dialogue, which we'll be doing in the workshop as a way of creating the glue for working with these bigger issues as they're coming.
So in this workshop, why do you feel that it's important for members to attend? It sounds like you've got assistant trainers going and trainers talking and everybody's trying to talk. And why should those of us who are just doing the work attend something like this?
Well, I mean, there's a couple different ways to answer that, and Alice, you can join in too. But one thing I really want to put out here, number one, is this workshop will be mostly experiential. The professional dialogue experience divides up into segments where we actually ask questions where you begin to listen to yourself. And then we divide up into dyads where you begin to speak and listen to someone else. We've had experience leading these workshops in professional dialogue, and people have extraordinary experiences where new meaning emerges for them and the whole group together. So number one, I mean, I want people to know that this Zoom experience is experiential, and they will walk away really having a deep experience. And then two, the thing is, how is our method, the way we do our method when we listen to an FI and ATM, how can we begin to listen to each other and walk our talk in conversation? And that's what this professional dialogue does, is we begin to actually walk our talk in conversation and develop a thriving group of people together and a thriving community. Alice, do you want to add to that?
I would say, to answer your question, Lavinia, everybody's voices need to be heard. We will need everybody's help in presenting in having a future in the directions of the method. Not, and we've begun in the legacy over the years to expand the audience, so to speak. We started with our small group, and we've been pulling other people in. And now it's time, from what we've learned, to really reach out to the entire community and say, we have important issues coming up. The solutions to those issues will come from all of us. They will come from you. They will come from me. And we need your engagement.
So that leads me right into my next question. Since you're all speaking about issues, are we going to be talking about these issues in this professional dialogue? What are we going to be talking about? Any one of you can answer that question. But Donna, if you're going to talk, could you unmute yourself? I had to mute people because of background.
Yeah, I think in this workshop, we're going to work with professional dialogue per se, and we'll start with an open-ended question that involves how we are in our profession and be able to learn to listen to each other about that. What's going to happen very soon after the conference is that Legacy is going to release a very large report of a vast amount of data about where we are. How much we're going to get into that in the actual workshop is to be decided. What we've learned is that we have these huge issues, that there's going to be conflict, there's going to be confusion, there's going to be a lot of not knowing and lots of opinions. And we need the glue of professional dialogue to hold it. So we'll be talking a little bit about those issues, but we're not going to be focusing so much on the issues. This is like a little preview of how we can deal with the issues, knowing that this report's going to come out a few weeks after the conference.
Mm-hmm.
So Legacy is creating a website, and the website will have a lot of information about what we've been doing and some of the issues we've been looking at. And that website will hopefully will be out before the conference. The report that we have that's full of the data that we've been compiling, that Donna was talking about, will come out probably right after the conference. And so this is a preparation, is how do we talk to each other? How do we prepare? How do we listen? So that we can address some of the questions that have been in the community for a long time. Like the age of the aging, the age of the trainers, the age of the practitioners, all of those questions that you've sort of alluded to and that have come up in our conversations with the community over the years that are out there.
That's great. So when people join you in this presentation, are you going to use breakout rooms? Are you going to, can you talk a little bit about the format? I understand that you said we're going to be in dyads, but, and an open-ended question, but will there be facilitators in each dyad? I mean, it's going to be a lot of people.
So let me just begin with that, and then Donna and Alice, you can join in. First of all, we will start with a history of Legacy and so what's happened over the last 5 years. So we'll do a review of something of what we did today, but a little bit more detailed. And then we're going to open up this process of professional dialogue. We'll give, with the whole group, we'll give a question. And then for maybe, let's say, a period of time, someone gets to answer they're in a dyad by themselves, and they get to answer the question and just keep talking and keep talking about how they would answer that question. And then they will reverse, and the other person will be the listener, the other person the talking. But what really the glue of what happens in this process, when you just listen deeply to someone for 15 minutes, the person begins to uncover information that's inside of them, a voice inside of them they didn't really know was there yet. So it's actually this process of being in the dyad and listening to each other in a respectful way that is very useful as we develop our a trustful community. Alice or Donna, anything you want to say about that in terms of the process?
So the process will be introducing, as I said, something about the history and something about the process, and then having an experience to break out into dyads in breakout rooms, and then come back with that experience to the wider group and debrief, so to speak, or see where it goes. And the experience that we've had with people, and I do apologize for the background noise. I am in a restaurant and the ferry just unloaded. So it's the ferry noise that you hear going by. I apologize. That the people's experience is that listening gives, as you speak, it gives you a chance to really think about what's going on inside you about the issue, and it gives the person who's listening to you a chance to really consider what you're saying and what it brings up in them. It's like an FI.
So in this gathering, you're not looking to practitioners to come up with solutions to problems or anything like that. This is really an opportunity for us to get to know you and the process that you've been doing and begin to engage in that process to feel more like we are connected with you.
Exactly.
Is that a good summary?
It is, but I want to add one thing to that. When this process happens and people really begin to speak in more depth and with more freedom and really be listened to, and we change roles like this, the wisdom that's within each person really begins to emerge, and that's the base from which we can create a future. Every one of us knows so much, but we haven't in our community really worked out how to elicit that. So, it's the same thing we would say, again, as we've been saying in FI or ATM. The source is in each of us, right? And the source of our future is in each of us. So how do we create the vessel or the container where that can come forward? So, we think of ourselves in this work as facilitating that, but that doesn't mean that we're directing it. And the future of legacy and of our legacy is not that we're coming up with the solutions. We're coming up with provocative questions and a way of listening to each other so that new solutions to the future can emerge between us.
And that's one of the hallmarks of dialogue, is it's a way of communicating where new meaning begins to emerge. It's not just taking things apart or trying to delineate the things that were being said, but in this process of communicating, new meaning begins. And that's how we move into the future, by tapping on the rich resource of all the members of our community and the wisdom, as Donna was saying, that we can come up with the answers for these tough questions that are coming up for us in our moving forward into this new time we're in.
Indeed, it's definitely a new time that we're moving into that is creating all kinds of possibilities for change as well. What is it? It can be an opportunity or an obstacle, right?
Exactly.
So, well, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to share this information. I don't know if anyone has anything to say in conclusion to cement our commitment to attending your presentation.
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, I would say
Well, as it's serious, right? It's very serious. Our future and these challenges are great, but the connection between us and what starts to come from that is really energizing. And we've been doing some of these
Liberating.
workshops, and that's been happening with the people attending, is that they feel energized by getting into the process, having a voice, discovering their voice, discovering listening to each other, and things start to emerge, and people discover they have overlapping issues that maybe they haven't talked about so much before, and out of all of that there's juice.
And an enhanced sense of community, which we all need so much right now.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, this is one of the only events at the conference where we will actually be interacting with each other in this way. And so it is a wonderful opportunity for all of us as a community to get together, where normally when we have a conference, we have all these parties and the wine drinking and the hanging out. And in this one, it's a lot of wonderful presentations. This is one opportunity to connect with the community in a meaningful way. So hopefully we'll all be there. We'll see you there. Don't forget to look at the schedule and make sure that you're available for the presentation. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
thank you.